Guys, what's going on? It's Azure coming at you today in Raid Shadow Legends. Welcome to the video, guys. Today we're going to talk about epic champions. More specifically, just a few days ago now, we have all of these champions, these legendary champions, with a couple exceptions that were balanced inside the game. You guys already know, I think, for the most part, who's been touched here, but they went through and they buffed about almost a dozen, legendary champions, which was great to see. A lot of the underwhelming legendaries getting some love, which again is important, right? We don't want to have underpowered legendaries. There's nothing worse than pulling a legendary from a shard and having it be an absolute trash legendary. So totally applaud them doing that.
Just leave me alone.
For the most part, agree with all the changes, some of them a little bit unexpected. Eurogrim and Geomancer, though, did get, nerfed. A nerf and a shadow nerf. That really sucks, right? So they did touch a couple epic champions, but they did not give any buffs. They haven't touched a rare champion in absolutely forever. It's almost like they've just forgotten rares exist inside the game. Sure, they still add them, but really, really lackluster rare champions being added to the game. I have not seen a compelling rare added since Frozen Banshee in 2019. I mean, with all due respect to Otachai, who's really the closest thing to a serviceable rare out there, there's just not much right now. And in a way, that's kind of okay, because they're adding a lot of new compelling epic champions and legendaries to the game. However, I have to state the obvious, right? It's using more resources to upgrade these champions, right? Epic books and legendary books are way more difficult to come by, especially if you are a free-to-play or a non-big spender, a non-whale inside this game. This video isn't meant to just complain without a solution. I want to share 5 epic champions that I'd love to see them buff. And just a quick caveat here, guys, I totally acknowledge that not every single champion in this game is going to be incredible. Like, that's obvious stuff here. Not every champion needs to be great. However, it'd be nice if almost every champion has some sort of utility. So if you're a brand new player, or if you're not a big spender, or if you're totally free to play in this game, if you pull that epic champion, you can get some utility out of it. It's not just a trap that gets you to waste your resources when you're upgrading it, especially newer players. And again, players who, how many times am I going to say non-whales, right? You get the point. So that's my point. Do you guys agree with me there? How do you feel about this? Because, when I started advertising Raid Shadow Legends on my other YouTube channel, I was, part of the script was like over 400 champions. And then in 2019 or 2020, it was over 500 champions. And now it's over 600 champions. And it's like, okay, so they're just going to keep adding. Now soon it's going to be over 700, 800, 1,000 champions in this game.
I hope you have a good lawyer.
Does it get to be a point where enough is enough with the champions, Personally, I like when they add champions, but I'm a big fan of champions kind of like Ninja. Really compelling, really good champions that are added for a limited amount of time, and after that, they're no longer available. Now, I wouldn't want to do this, I like fragment summons and fusions and stuff like that to stay the way they are, but the problem is there's nothing worse than doing a fusion or a fragment summon, hustling and grinding for weeks at a time, and then only to find out, or only to pull your next shard and you pull a fragment summon champion, I don't know what the solution is there. I'm just kind of talking out loud to you guys, just having a little discussion here. Let me know, where your head's at regarding the cadence of new champions added to the game. I always look forward to it. Maybe I'm a sucker. Of course, I'm a sucker. I play this game. Maybe I'm a sucker, but I look forward to the champions in the game. I just feel like every new batch of champions, it pushes aside vis-a-vis power creep other champions in the game. Now, what I want to see them do is personally, I want them to continue adding new champions to the game. I like when they add new, really exciting champions. However, I want those additions to come along with balancing. I think that balancing 1 or 2 times a year just isn't enough, especially when you're adding maybe, 50 to 100 champions a year, right? At least that's what it seems like. Maybe it's 30 to 100. Either way, I feel like it's been a lot, in 2020. A champion like Vergis, he used to suck, and now he's really good, but he's not OP, he's not broken. They just kind of took, what was he supposed to be when we initially added him to the game, years ago? What was Vergis supposed to be? And then they took that and they just kind of beefed him up a little bit as they added more and more compelling champions to the game. That way he is not totally pushed aside. People who invested in these champions, they're still gonna get something out of them, right? So that's one idea. Another idea is I just covered an ad for a game. I'm not sure if it's out yet or if it's out soon, but Rage of Destiny. I really liked that you could at any point just cash in all the resources that you've spent on any champion and get them fully refunded, fully compensated. Now, I don't think that Plarium is necessarily going to do that. However, maybe, you know, you lose something. You lose 25%, you lose 50%, but you're still reimbursed. Because if they're not going to buff all these champions that we invested in 2-3 years ago, some of us, then, you know, I don't know, if you're not going to balance and you're not going to give us any mechanisms to get our sunk resources out of these champions as they're kind of, you know, debunked by all the new champions added to the game. I don't know, just thinking out loud here, guys. So anyway, here's the 5 champions that I would really love to see them buff really, really soon, right? And I'm going to do something that I don't do a lot. And I'm going to message them. I'm going to DM the team and just say, hey, what do you think about these champions? What do you think about this video? So, hey, Plarium, if you're watching, thanks for tuning in. All right, so Azure is one of these champions, right? Now, I'm picking these champions because I think that, like Vergis, they're not awful in principle, right? These are champions that the fundamentals, the foundation to build a house on these. I'm really mixing my metaphors today. It's there. These champions, there's something there with these guys, right? So Azure is one of them. Now, specifically, I have a couple Void champions because I think, listen, man, you have a very small percentage of pulling a Void champion anyway. When you get one, when you get a Void epic, you want it to be at least buildable, right? And if you pull Azure, man, I don't think you can even make a strong case to build him, right? So what I think you can do with Azure, it's easy. On his A2, Aegis, which, by the way, ironically, same ability on Vergis. His A2 is also called Aegis, I believe. Anyway, ally protect on all allies except this champion for 2 turns. A shield on himself, 40% of his HP, which is actually a solid shield, and it cannot be removed. Problem is this has been power crept, man. A 4-turn ally protect on a champion that doesn't have a lot of defense doesn't really excite me. Now, you must be saying, well, wait, Ash, he must have a really good A3. His A3 is an extra hit if they're under a stun, steals some turn meter if they're not under a stun, which isn't awful. It's not awful. He's an HP and attack-based champion, which makes no sense. So an easy fix, right? To me, get rid of the damage based on attack. That's so dumb to have. Like, all of the champions in the game that have no attack, that are HP-based champion, that have their damage somewhat scaled on attack, just get rid of that. So get rid of that. That's gonna really increase his multipliers just by getting rid of the attack. And then on the A2, just bring it to a 3-turn cooldown. Bring it to a 5-turn cooldown, book down to 3, right? A 3-turn cooldown with an ally protect is not that strong for a Void champion. Easy fix, and then I think he's buildable. He's a good progression champion if you make those changes. Next one is going to be this one. I've talked about this on the channel before, but man, Frostbringer, who doesn't bring the frost. She's a champion who has freeze in her name, freeze aesthetically everywhere. It's freaking Snow White over here. I guess Snow White doesn't have snow on her like Frostbringer. But man, we got heal reduction, we got decreased defense 3 times at random if they're under heal reduction, and then we have speed increased attack on a 4-turn cooldown. Well, geez, man, you can make her serviceable immediately just by bringing this down to a 3-turn cooldown. And I don't think that would make her broken, you know, in any way. She's really fast. She has great base stats, right? So I think that if you increase speed, increase attack on a 3-turn cooldown, it's a no-brainer buff, right? But if you don't want to do that, I would encourage them to change this. Get rid of this part. For 2 turns, if they're under heal reduction, get rid of all that. Just 3 times at random places a blah, 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 right? And I say blah, blah, blah because get rid of decreased defense and swap that out in with a freeze, right? So she brings the freeze. She's Frostbringer, right? Come on, man. So I want 3 times at random, places a freeze debuff. That's it. Each hit has a chance to place a freeze debuff. Guaranteed freeze. It's not going to make her broken. It's not going to make her OP, I promise. It's going to make her a good epic champion, right? So you can obviously tweak, you know, here and there, but I wanted her to bring some free. She's Frostbringer. She's a really cool champion, like aesthetically, base stats-wise. Give us a reason to use her, you know? Next one is going to be Lady Etessa from Sacred Order. Now, Lady Etessa has some promise here. I think they can make some tweaks, make her a very interesting champion. She has a chance of placing a stun on a single target. Who cares, right? On her A3, though, she's an ally attack champion. You're going to be joined by 2 allies on a 4-turn cooldown. This is trash. It's been power crept so much. They've added so many ally attack champions to the game. Since then, you know, a lot of legendaries, even legendary 3-turn cooldown champions like Krila Witcharm. So, and, you know, Fakhrin the Fat as well.
I really think we need to talk.
So she's been super power crept. I want her to be viable. She's even worse than Catacomb Counselor, another ally attack epic champion. So what I want to do with Lady Etessa is simple. I want to bring this all the way down to a 3-turn cooldown, or a 4-turn can be booked down to a 3-turn. That way, she's a 3-turn cooldown epic, but she's still not OP because it's only 2 random allies. Either that or just change it to 3 random allies and keep it at a 4-turn cooldown. This is a no-brainer buff. There's no reason not to give this buff to Lady Etessa, right? There's no reason. She's a very unique champion in that she's only one of the 3 or 4 or 5, I guess, ally attack in all of epic categories. So let's make her a little bit more viable, right? Let's give us a reason to use her. Give us a little bit more diversity. Nice that she is also a Force Affinity ally attack champion, right? I think that she has some promise there, Lady Etessa. Barbarians. Going back to the Void thing that I mentioned earlier, guys, and I'll be quick here because, you know, I'm not going to belabor the point, but Haarken Greatblade, I mean, she's a pretty trash Void epic champion again. So on her A3, it's a 4-turn cooldown, applies a debuff spread, taking 2 random debuffs from the target, placing them on all enemies. Also extends the duration of those debuffs by 2 turns, will not extend duration of debuffs on the initial target. So she's useless for like clan boss. She's a debuff spreader with an extender. There's really no viability. You know, maybe Spider, but she's a Void. Again, going back to what I said about Azure. So I want to make her way more viable. What I want to do is maybe just, it's a 4-turn cooldown. Maybe you just make it a debuff extender by 2 turns and you get rid of the debuff spread. Debuff spread is really an underused, under-respected for good reason. Okay, that was a wrong word choice there. It's just not a good skill, you know? It should be on paper, but oftentimes it just doesn't play out that way. So I don't know. What do you think? The rest of her kit is not exciting. She has a weaken on 1 target. Okay, a 2-hitter on her A1, which does hit hard, but that's it. What would you do with that A3? I would like to see Haarken Great. I always say Haarken.
Oh, really?
Haarken Greatblade. I would like to see her great, right? And then last but not least, guys, a champion that I've done a guide on. It's actually Deathless. So Deathless, again, not every champion has to be good in this game, but Deathless, she's a unique champion. She's very cool champion. However, very slow. And it's really about, she has reflect damage, a provoke on 1 target, who cares, right? She has like a very mediocre kit. Her A3, attack all enemies, will always be critical if there are 2 or more dead allies. Damage increases according to the number of dead allies. On a 5-turn cooldown, you must be saying this Grim Revenge must absolutely devastate everybody. No, it really doesn't. I did a guide on her, check it out, guys. I struggled to find a use for her. Here's the problem. I don't mind her having a unique outside-the-box kit. I think that's cool, right? However, she's very slow. She's a defense-based champion. And this Grim Revenge, on a 5-turn cooldown, doesn't hit hard enough, man. We have enemy max HP champions. We have champions like Seer who do millions of damage. You know, you have to have all of your allies dead in order to get, what, 100k, maybe 200k AoE attack on a 5-turn cooldown? Listen, we need this either on a 3-turn cooldown, a 2-turn cooldown. I mean, like, it's not doing that much damage, right? So Deathless, I feel like the foundation is there. I'm joking on the 2-turn cooldown. But the foundation is there. If we want to keep her, that she has better abilities when people are dead, you just need to really, really boost up this damage to make her viable, right? Like, and I think she should be viable. She should be niche viable. Anyway, guys, we will end the video there. Let me know what you think of my meanderings on epic champions inside this game and power creep in general. Thank you for watching, and as always, take care, guys.